I'm Chelsea Klukas, and I'm the founder of MakeFashion and Lumen Couture. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the future of fashion and some of the work that I've been doing at the intersection of fashion and technology. So a little bit about my background is I initially started as wanting to be an artist. I went to an art school in Canada, and I somewhat accidentally found myself into tech. Right after art school, I ended up working at a tech startup and got introduced to technology and a lot of people who were working in that field. And since then, I've continued to have a career between a mix of startups and large companies. Around that same time, about 8 years ago, I got together with a couple of friends who also ran an art gallery. And back then, around 8 years ago, wearable technology was not very prevalent, and it certainly was not very led with design or art. So at that time, I think this was even pre-Google Glass, all of the wearable tech out there was super clunky, super geeky, and there wasn't really an element of fashion or art incorporated into those designs. So around that time, I got together with my friends and with my background in art school and a lot of the wearable artists I know, as well as the engineers and maker community and other people who were involved in the gallery, we thought, well, what if we got these groups of people together and created something that combined technology and fashion and art and storytelling and put together a big runway show mashing up all of these concepts. So we got together a group of local artists and designers within Calgary, and together we put together a collection of pieces and did our very first runway show. Now this was in a tiny gallery. I think we maybe sat 100 people. We sold out. It was an entirely new concept. I remember we were trying to do the promotion and creative for it, and we didn't even have any images to use because really at that time, there wasn't a lot of work out there and we really had no idea what this was going to look like. So we got the pieces together and we had this runway show, and it was really this moment when magic happened. And after that, all of the images and videos from the show gained a lot of international attention online, and we started getting invited to more and more events, including CES, international maker fairs, as more and more people started seeing this work and getting excited around what we were doing. So since there, MakeFashion has continued to grow every year. Every year under normal circumstances, maybe not right now while we're in social isolation, but normally we have a cycle where we do a call for submissions. We get together, whether you're an artist, whether you do sewing, you're an engineer, whether you have a mix of skills, we take input, we take your ideas, and then we'll do some form of matchmaking or coaching and mentoring to help you bring your projects to life. And over the years, we've had a number of senior designers who do really innovative concepts who also will mentor newbies and mentor more junior designers. So that's a process that we've been having going on for years, and over time it's become bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's been more international events, bigger budget, more designers involved, and we've built a great community. Over the years of doing that, we've had a lot of people coming after the runway shows, coming up to us saying, hey, I really love that concept. Is that something that I could take home and wear for myself? And the majority of the time it was, well, no, this is a piece that was handcrafted by artists. You know, it took 50 or 100 hours. It was kind of designed to be worn a few times for the runway. Although over time, we've been getting better and better at making them more durable and washable, because we learned the hard way of all the things that can go wrong with these garments that aren't built to be fixed and, you know, get smelly over time. So we've started to solve all these problems for the runway, but we were getting more and more questions of people wanting to bring it home and having it at an affordable price point. So that was when just over a year ago, I think it's close to 2 years now, actually, I founded Lumen Couture, which was taking a lot of those concepts from the runway and bringing them into ready-to-wear designs, which are some of the designs you see behind me that I'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later. So I took those concepts from the runway, all the things we learned about durability, Safety is super important, washability, all the techniques on how you can remove the components or have, washable layers that you can clean, and started creating my own line called Lumen Couture. And really with Lumen Couture, I focused on simple designs that are versatile. I've really had a focus on sustainability because I think sustainability is really important as the future of fashion, as, rather than purchasing, 30 t-shirts with different designs, you could buy one t-shirt that has a design that you can change. And I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of kind of what's behind the tech also shortly. And back to the Make Fashion journey. So as we were doing Make Fashion, we also had a lot of questions from people who weren't necessarily ready to participate in a big runway show, but maybe wanted to do versions of those designs at home and create their own wearable tech garments. So through that, I also started my YouTube channel and wearabletutorials.com, which gives just an overview of how to do wearable technology projects from everywhere from absolute beginner. So just going an overview of like, what are the different components, all the way to, more advanced types of projects. And through Wearable Tutorials, I also made available the materials that we use for both our runway projects as well as my Lumen Couture ready-to-wear line, so that people can actually buy these materials directly. And I've worked, and as a whole team, we've worked directly with the manufacturers to be able to create components that are optimized for wearable technology, which is awesome because when we first started, we were kind of going around and kind of hacking together different technology components that weren't necessarily designed for wearable tech. And some of the most important things about that are being lightweight, being really durable because garments create more wear and tear than, a normal electronics with a hard box would. Being really safe if for whatever reason you do get moisture, it's really important that your components can, withstand that and not, create any unsafe conditions. So over time, we've created these components that I've now also made available on wearabletutorials.com so that anyone can look at the tutorials and start to use the exact same materials that I'm using for my projects. And one other spin-off we've had throughout that journey is Make Fashion Edu, which is an initiative to teach young kids how to do wearable technology and especially introduce, girls and women to science, electronics through fashion, because, sometimes a lot of young girls look at the industry and don't necessarily at a young age see something that appeals to them. So for anyone, and not just girls, who's interested in fashion, this can kind of help bridge the gap between fashion and arts and technology and engineering. So through Make Fashion EDU, we offer a very similar process to our professional runway shows where we'll have workshops, we'll teach kids how to do projects, and then they actually walk and model in their own runway shows at the end, and all their friends and parents come and see them. And it's a really great experience for these kids. And then often they'll continue on to do their own projects and get more and more excited about technology and engineering and electronics. So as far as the projects you're seeing behind me and some of the demo reels that I've been playing throughout this conversation, there's mostly two types of components that I'm using in both the runway pieces as well as my ready-to-wear designs. So one of them is just the LED strands, which, let me just grab my demo here. If you've done any sort of wearable technology or, LED projects, you've probably seen something like this before. These ones are nice because they're really flexible. They're a little bit more durable than some of the other strands. You can, kind of bend them really nicely for any type of project. These are compatible with a variety of different boards, including Arduino, Raspberry Pi. You can kind of do anything you want with them. But in the kits, I also have this nice little easy to use remote control so that using the remote control, you can cycle through a variety of different patterns. So for example, that dress with the shooting star effect behind me is just one of the ready to go patterns that comes with this component. So there's a remote control version. There's also one where the controller is right on the strand so that you don't have to have a secondary component. And this can also just change to a single color light. You can change the speed. You can do a few custom things with it. You can change the brightness. So this is a nice one because you can take it as far as you want for more advanced projects, but also right out of the box with just a glue gun or needle and thread, you can start to stitch it together and make your own really easy projects for kind of whether it's cosplay or costume or just something fun. It's designed to be really, really easy to use. The other component that I've been using is something brand new that I've been really excited about, and it's this ultra thin flex panel. So the cool thing about this is it's an LED matrix. It has an app, so it's controlled through your phone, and it's nice because it's actually as thin as a piece of paper, and as you can see, it's really, really flexible. So this is something that's awesome for wearables. You know, it's at a certain point you can break it if you really want to, but it's pretty hard to break it, which is really nice and something that's really unique to LED arrays, and something that this is the small and lightweight. And the whole thing you can see here, including the battery, is pretty small. So this battery is pretty easy to conceal in any type of wearable tech garment. And this component has been used for a new piece that I just came up with that's had a lot of popularity, which you can see behind me on the other side, on this mannequin, this mask that says HalfStack going across it. So I have another one here. So this is a mask that I did that's been really, really popular right now in the COVID situation. It was kind of an accident, actually. I was, kind of messing around and just using different components in my studio, and thought like it would be really cool if I just kind of put it inside this mask. So as you can see behind me, you can use the same panel component that has a lot of these different functionalities to be able to send text. You can also draw your own pictures. I'll show you a quick little demo here. So the app has a little area for you to draw, so you can like draw your own patterns in here and send them to the panel or to the mask. You can also use a microphone. So you can, I don't know which one I'm connected to. It connects via Bluetooth. So if you have a few of them turned on, you sometimes have to guess which one you're connected to. But if I do this microphone, oh yeah, it's the one behind me. So you can see that my phone's microphone is now responding to the mask that's behind me. So if you're wearing this, you can do this really cool kind of voice effect as you're talking. It can also respond to music from your phone. So if you have music on your phone, you can play it, and then your mask or whatever type of wearable tech you want to make can respond directly to the microphone or the music being played from your phone, which is really fun. And it kind of has this cool kind of dystopian vibe. It doesn't quite fit right on the mannequin behind me because his head isn't really a normal size, and I think I actually had to pin it on. But when you put it on yourself, it ends up looking pretty cool. And the components and the actual ready-to-go mask are both available on my website as well. So I initially started it as a DIY project, but then it was popular enough and I had enough people asking that I've started to produce it and just sell it ready to go. And then I also have a larger version of the panel. It's not quite as flexible as the small one, but this is the one that you can see behind me on that dress. Oops, I keep pointing to the wrong side because it's reflected in my view here. But on this one, you can see this larger panel that's inside. I also have a hoodie, like a pullover design. So it goes on the back, so you can display any kind of image. You can do text. You can actually download and upload GIFs to this one. So you can like put whatever meme you want, or you can do a whole bunch of different stuff with this, which is really, really cool. You can upload a photo and it'll show the photo. Although generally I find with just the array, it's a little bit better to have something that's more bold and graphic rather than a really detailed photo to really show off the boldness and vividness, as you can see behind me. But this one is also a really fun design. I've had lots of feedback from sports fans where you could, wear your favorite sports logo on the back, and then if they're not winning, you could like change it to a different logo, to go with the trend of whoever's winning. But this is a really fun design that you can do a lot of different things with. So I have this one. I have this component if you want to make your own stuff. Also have the dress that you can see behind me with the kind of optional cape, as well as the hoodie pullover and a skirt, as well as a whole bunch of different accessories that I've been coming up with these different components, which I need to sort of stop inventing new ones until I get rid of my supplies that are behind me off camera. I just have boxes and boxes of stuff because I'm operating out of my little tiny studio here. So that's, the breadth of the work that we've been doing across Make Fashion, wearable tutorials, Lumen Couture. And the really nice thing about all these projects is that over time, we've created this great community of, different designers we've been working with over the years, other professionals who are doing really high-end work, other DIY enthusiasts who are doing their own little projects. And the great thing about this community is that everyone is sharing ideas and sharing concepts and building on top of each other's ideas to make more and more really cool, interesting stuff. One question that I get a lot is, how are the sales doing? Is this something that's popular yet? How's the business going? And I will say that it hasn't quite caught on yet as mainstream. I think that, there's a certain type of person who's bold enough to wear a conversation piece like what you see behind me. For some of the more glamorous dresses, I do have some clients who purchase them or will rent them for like a big gala event. Right now, of course, no one's going out, so that's been a little bit slow. But the mask has been really popular recently, and I think that a lot of that has to do with, it's a tough situation that we have to wear these masks. I don't think any of us are necessarily excited about the notion of having to go out and wear a mask, but something like this offers, I think a little bit of lightheartedness and fun, maybe a little bit of levity or self-expression in what's kind of a tough and scary time for all of us. So although I never really initially planned on making a mask, what's been really cool about this is that I've had a few people reach out to me and say, I found a really fun way to wear this mask. Some people are being punchy and putting their like political messages across it, for better or worse. The one I used in the demo, which I shared, says 6 feet or 6 feet away. So you can use it as a statement for people to stay back. So the mask has obviously been really popular right now. And I'm just kind of, generally interested in this notion of this, new form of accessory that's been introduced into fashion, and how long will this stick around where we're wearing masks? Is this going to be a temporary thing, or is this going to be the new norm where we're wearing masks all the time? So beyond just, the business of whether the mask sells or not, which right now I'm donating 40% of the profits to WHO relief for COVID. I'm really interested in this notion of, over the years of fashion, if we talk about innovation and newness, there haven't been the introduction of that many new mainstream accessories, particularly one that's unisex like this. There's hats, there's watches, there's bracelets, but for a while we had kind of hit the limit of how many accessories are kind of within one's wardrobe or different forms of self-expression. So the introduction of the mask as a new form of that is something that I think is really interesting and that I think might stick around for the long run. So I've been seeing lots of people loving this idea and creating their own versions of, weird, cool tech masks, whether it's with LEDs or sensors or their own versions of this, kind of interesting, weird, slightly dystopian mask design. So with that, I'm going to transition it over to any questions or things you have about, either MakeFashion, Lumen Couture, the process, the materials, the mask, or, any kind of questions you might have about fashion technology and the future of fashion.
Hey, thank you so much for that amazing talk. That was so cool. And just wanted to say, like, the way we found you was because of your COVID masks, and it was really cool to see that. But seeing a HalfStack mask, I can't even say it's a tongue twister, just like really is really cool to see. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, happy to.
So tell me a bit about how you got into making these masks, because I mean, obviously they're going crazy. So
yeah, and it was funny. It was a complete accident. So I was feeling a little bit uncreative and demoralized with the whole situation, especially because the rest of the business had pretty much dried up. People were staying in and getting scared. So no one was really going for the more fun festival kind of stuff. So then I just decided I was going to just sew some regular masks. So I was in my sewing studio and I was just making some black masks and using some leftover sequin material and stuff just to make some masks to sell on Etsy. And then I had the panel around and I was like, oh, I wonder, I have one right here. I wonder like if this would be cool. And then that was that. So then I initially didn't want to sell them ready to go. I just did the DIY. So it was literally Sunday morning. I came up with the idea. I shot a really quick YouTube video, posted on my YouTube channel, and posted a little video of the mask. And then it got a lot of attention. A lot of people were really excited. Within a day, people were asking me if they could just buy the mask ready to go or if I could send them, pre-cut patterns and stuff. So then I quickly started pivoting to first sewing all the masks myself and then actually working with a manufacturer to help me create the masks and ship them out. So it was this total, 8 years in the making overnight success that was
right.
pretty unexpected, but has been a little bit of a ride since then.
That is so cool. So like really this has been that big of a spike for you, just the masks?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
It was, I think the other garments I do are a little bit more niche. So it's been more of a, kind of not like a steady sales. It's not like I'm selling hundreds every week. But the masks, I think, especially because they're unisex, and it's actually the first like garment that I've offered that is unisex. So that's been really popular as well. So actually, it inspired me to do another unisex kind of hoodie pullover with the same design as on the dress there, because it seems like there were a lot of different types of people interested in this work.
That is so cool. So how does someone get this from you? Do they go to your Etsy shop, or how do they find out about, like, how do they get this kit, or how do they buy one pre-made?
Yeah, so lumencouture.com to get the ready-made mask, and then wearabletutorials.com will sell the just the panel that goes inside of it. So either or, and then the panel you can use for all sorts of different things. And I have a YouTube channel if you look up Lumen Couture, and I demo the panel and all the different types of things that you can do with it.
That is so cool. So how did you first get into this stuff? Like, did you start with fashion, or did you start with tech, or did you start with both of them early in your career?
Yeah, kind of both. I didn't necessarily have a fashion background. I was always interested in it. Actually, my grandmother was a fashion designer, so it kind of came full circle. And I actually started by doing running the events and, bringing the teams together and more behind the scenes as far as kind of making our fashion shows happen. And I wasn't really focused on designing myself. And then after a few years, I realized that, the designers were having a lot more fun than I was. So I started trying to make, the glory. And then I was, running around behind the scenes. So I still am running around behind the scenes, but at least I get something kind of on the runway. And then my first piece actually was a projection mapped dress where that it was actually an invention where I wanted to do a projection mapped garment for a really long time. But there are a lot of logistics with moving around a projector with a model at the same time, unless you have it on a dolly or something. So the design actually has a projector within the hat with a mirror reflecting that then projects down onto the body. So that was my first garment that I did for the fashion and tech. And actually the design with the panel in it behind me here has a very similar effect, but it's coming from within, from an LED matrix, as opposed to being projected down onto the model.
Right. That was so cool. One of our attendees, Martin, he says one of his dream projects is to make a suit with fashion tech. What advice might you give him as a developer who probably doesn't have a fashion background like you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, just go for it and try it. What we found with Make Fashion is that we either get people who have, a maker or an engineering background, or we get people who have a fashion background. And often there's this gap where people think, either the sewing's going to be too hard or the tech is going to be too hard. Sometimes you can partner up with someone. Also, if you're not really keen on, sewing or, like designing your own patterns, a really great thing to do is just go thrifting and upcycle something. On my YouTube channel, I actually have a couple projects where I just go to a thrift store, kind of tell you how to take it apart, put the electronics in, and then that can, or, just buy something new, or, that can really help that process. Because you don't necessarily, I think there's sometimes in like maker and DIY, this notion that everything has to be completely from scratch. And if you didn't,
right.
Like if you didn't write the code yourself and if you didn't sew it and design the pattern, then it's not legit. But I think you can actually get a lot more done and continue to be inspired if you take the right shortcut.
Yeah, I think there are times to take shortcuts and times to figure it all out. And it's just what you want to do and how much time you want to put into it. And we've had a wide range of talks today from people who very much just borrow and adapt, and people who are like, no, I like to touch the bare metal and start from the ground up. And they're all useful perspectives. So, what's the battery life like on some of these things, and what do you do to work with that?
Yeah, it depends, both on, of course, how many LEDs, the color of the LEDs. Different LEDs have different power draw. The nice thing about these panels is that they have at least 8 hours of battery life when they're fully charged, which is some of the highest battery life out of any of the products that I work with. And they come contained with their own little battery, which is in here. The larger garments are all powered by a USB power bank, so the same kind of power bank that you use to charge your phone. I've actually made my own little power banks that are smaller, but the smaller the less power draw they have. Right. So a dress like the one behind me with the shooting light pattern, that'll probably last about 2 hours, sometimes a little bit less, depending on if you're using white light. So it really just depends on the garment. I always tell people, make sure you test it out first with the pattern you're planning on wearing it so that you know what to expect, and then bring a bunch of backups if you need to, so that you're not waiting for this big moment of glory that then you're bad.
Right. Yeah, no, I've definitely experienced that. I think this conference is famous for demo fail at times, so it's really nice to hear that. So I guess the sort of other question we're typically asking people is how they're coping with this whole stay-at-home stuff. Like, what are you doing obviously you're making stuff, which is amazing. Are you doing anything else to stay sane, or any struggles, or just how's it affecting you personally?
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate that my studio was already in my basement, so I'm able to continue my work. I'm already kind of a one-woman shop, so other than some shipping issues, just kind of bringing materials in was all delayed. I've been able to kind of operate as normal. So comparatively, not too many things to complain about. I think it has been a little bit challenging in that I've been, working really hard, and in Seattle we've been shut down for a while, so it is really starting to drag on. Actually, today was my first day off since the start of the year, which was really, really nice. So I am getting a bit of that fatigue of staring at screens all the time, because now all of my interaction is through a screen. So I am feeling that lack of human connection and presence with people, which I've found is very, very draining, because, I spend a lot of time talking to people, and it's just not the same, and a little bit exhausting.
Yeah, we really tried to make this event feel more like a personal interaction than just a big long Zoom call with session after session, which is why we have these interviews. It's kind of like the hallway track, and we've had lots of music breaks and outtakes and fun stuff. So it's not so much just staring at the screen the whole time and having to focus the whole time. So I totally get it. So thanks so much for making time for us. If there's anything else you want to share, just feel free to pop it in the chat or let me know. And thanks again for sharing your amazing work with us.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And I wasn't saying this was exhausting, by the way.
No, I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean.
We're gonna wrap it up. No.
I was basically, saying that, exactly. We've really tried to work with that, because we're exhausted too, sitting on Zoom calls all day long. Exactly.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been really fun.
All right. Cheers. Thanks.